I still remember the exact moment I realized I didn't want the night to end. Not the wedding day. Not the moment I proposed. Not the first time we said we loved each other. It was before all of that. Before the house. Before the rings. Before the thousands of ordinary mornings that somehow became my favorite parts of life. It was just two people sitting in a parked car at almost 2 a.m, pretending we weren't tired because saying goodbye felt impossible. That was the night I met my wife. And the funny thing is, I almost canceled. 10 years ago, on a Friday evening, I was standing in my apartment staring at my phone, trying to convince myself to go. I had matched with her on Tinder a few days earlier. Her name was Emma. Her profile wasn't anything dramatic. No perfectly staged photos. No long list of requirements. Just a few pictures of her smiling. One with her dog. One where she was laughing at something outside the frame. That picture was the reason I messaged her, because it didn't look like she was trying to look happy. She just was. Our conversations were easy from the beginning, almost suspiciously easy. I'd ask one question, and somehow, 20 minutes later, we'd be talking about old childhood memories, favorite movies, strange fears, and whether breakfast food tasted better at night. Still, meeting someone in person was different. Messages were safe. Real life wasn't. I remember looking in the mirror before leaving, changing my shirt twice, checking the time every 5 minutes, wondering if this would become another awkward dinner where both people secretly knew after 10 minutes that there wouldn't be a second one. I had no idea that years later I would remember every tiny detail of that night. The weather, the song playing in my car, even the way the restaurant smelled when I opened the door. Warm bread, coffee, a little bit of rain from people's coats near the entrance. It had started raining just before I arrived. Not a storm, just soft rain that made the streets shine under the lights. The restaurant was small and quiet, the kind of place where people actually talked instead of shouting over music. I arrived early. Too early. 15 minutes. I sat there pretending to look at the menu even though I had already read it 3 times. Then the door opened, and there she was. It's strange looking back at that moment now, because that person walking through the door was technically a stranger. Someone whose favorite coffee order I didn't know yet. Someone whose laugh I hadn't memorized. Someone whose hand I had never held. But some part of me felt like I recognized her. She looked around the room, searching. Then she saw me and smiled. That smile changed my entire life. I just didn't know it yet. "Hi," she said. "Hi." Very impressive. First words. The beginning of our great love story was basically 2 nervous people saying hello. She laughed about that later. She still does. Dinner was supposed to last maybe an hour, maybe two, if things went well. We stayed until the restaurant closed. I don't even remember what we ate. I remember everything else. The way she played with the edge of her napkin when she was thinking. The way she looked directly at me when I talked. Not around the room, not at her phone, at me. Like whatever I was saying actually mattered. I remember making her laugh for the first time. Really laugh. Not the polite first date laugh people do when they're trying to be nice. The real one. The one where she looked away because she was embarrassed by how loud it was. That was the moment I thought, I hope I hear that again. The conversation never stopped. That was the strange part. There were no uncomfortable pauses, no searching for topics. It felt less like meeting someone new and more like continuing a conversation we had started years ago. When the waiter finally came over and gently told us they were closing, we both looked around, surprised. The entire restaurant was empty. Chairs were already pushed in. Lights were being turned off. Neither of us had noticed. Outside, the rain had stopped. The air smelled fresh and cold. The streets were quiet. I walked her to my car because I offered to drive her home. The drive should have taken 15 minutes. It took almost an hour because I kept taking longer roads. And she noticed. "You missed the turn," she said. I glanced over. "Oh, did I?" She smiled. "You know you did." I laughed. Caught. Maybe. I'm just saying, technically this road also gets you home. It's the opposite direction. Details. She laughed. And there it was again. That laugh. Eventually, I ran out of wrong turns. We reached her apartment. I parked outside. The engine went quiet. And then came the moment. The moment where someone says they had a great time. The moment where someone leaves. Except that neither of us moved. The car was dark, except for the streetlights outside. Small drops of rain still covered the windshield. Music played quietly from the speakers. And we just kept talking. About everything. About nothing. About our families. The places we wanted to see. The things we were afraid of. The dreams we barely admitted out loud. There was something about sitting there in that quiet little space that made the rest of the world disappear. No distractions, no pretending, just us. At one point she looked at the clock. Oh my God. What? Do you know what time it is? I looked. Almost 2 in the morning. I couldn't believe it. We'd been sitting there for hours. I should probably go, she said. Probably. Neither of us moved. She looked at me, And I looked at her. There was this quiet moment, the kind you can't plan, the kind that only happens. Then she smiled softly and said, "You're not going to kiss me, are you?" I froze, because she was right. I was overthinking everything, trying to find the perfect moment, trying not to ruin it. I laughed. I was working up to it. For 3 hours? Apparently. She shook her head, smiling. Then she leaned over and kissed me first. And somehow, in that quiet car, on that ordinary street, after an ordinary dinner, everything changed. Not because it was like the movies, because it was real. It was nervous. It was imperfect. It was us. A few minutes later, she finally went inside. I waited until I saw her apartment light turn on. Then my phone buzzed. A message from her. "Just so you know, I'm hoping there's a second date." I sat there smiling like an idiot, then typed, "Good," because I was already planning one. And that was the beginning. 10 years. It sounds so long when you say it, but somehow it passed in seconds. There were so many moments after that night. The first vacation together. The first argument. The first time we apologized and realized choosing each other mattered more than being right. The night I proposed, I was more nervous that night than our first date. I had this entire plan. A beautiful location. A speech I practiced for weeks. And then everything went wrong. It rained. The restaurant lost our reservation. My perfect plan completely fell apart. So I proposed in our living room, both of us wearing comfortable clothes, her laughing because she knew something was wrong. And honestly, it was better, because that was always us. The best moments were never the perfect ones. They were the real ones. Our wedding came a year later. I still remember watching her walk toward me and thinking about that first night. The girl from the restaurant, the girl from the car, the girl who kissed me first because I was taking too long. She became my wife, my family, my home. And now, 10 years after that first date, I wake up early on a Sunday morning. The house is quiet. The world outside is barely awake. Soft sunlight comes through the curtains. The room is still, and she's sleeping beside me. Her hair is messy. Her hand is resting near mine. She has no idea I'm awake. No idea I'm lying here, thinking about a rainy night from 10 years ago. Thinking about how close we came to never meeting. One different choice. One canceled date. One message never sent. And this entire life wouldn't exist. Sometimes that thought scares me. Mostly, it makes me grateful, because love isn't always one big magical moment. Sometimes it's 1,000 small ones. Coffee on quiet mornings, laughing in the kitchen, knowing exactly how someone likes their tea, hearing their footsteps, and knowing who it is before they enter the room. She moves slightly in her sleep, closer to me, just like she has for years. And I smile, because 10 years ago, I sat in a car with a stranger and then didn't want the night to end. Now I wake up beside my wife, and I still feel exactly the same way.